Welcome back to Sleepy English Academy. Today, we'll be learning English through audio listening. So, get comfortable and close your eyes. Once upon a time, in a sunny garden, lived a tiny ladybug named Luna. Luna wasn't like other ladybugs. While her friends buzzed around all day, playing and exploring, Luna felt sleepy. Her little eyes would get heavy, and she'd yawn wider than her tiny wings. One warm afternoon, Luna's friends were busy playing hide-and-seek among the colorful flowers. Luna, however, couldn't keep her eyes open. She crawled under a big, soft leaf and snuggled in. It was cool and dark, the perfect place for a nap. As Luna drifted off to sleep, she dreamed of juicy red berries and the warm sunshine. When she finally woke up, the garden was quiet. The sun was setting, painting the sky with orange and purple colors. Her friends were nowhere to be seen. Luna felt a little worried. She peeked out from under the leaf. Then, she saw a tiny light flickering in the distance. It was a firefly. Luna knew fireflies like to come out at night. Maybe they could help. "Excuse me, Mr. Firefly," Luna called out politely. "Have you seen my friends?" The firefly blinked his light. "They went home, little ladybug," he said kindly. "It's getting late." Luna felt a yawn coming on again. "Oh," she mumbled. "Thank you, Mr. Firefly." The firefly smiled with his tiny light. "Don't worry, ladybug," he said. "The garden will be here tomorrow. Get a good night's sleep." Luna crawled back under the leaf, feeling safe and cozy. She closed her eyes, happy to know her friends were safe. Soon, she was fast asleep, dreaming of sunshine and adventures, ready to play again when the morning came.
My dear listener, I am new to YouTube. Please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.
Pip the penguin wasn't like the other penguins. While they loved sliding on their bellies and splashing in the icy water, Pip preferred tinkering in his cozy igloo. He loved building gadgets out of pebbles, feathers, and anything else he could find. One morning, Pip was working on his latest invention, a machine that could translate animal sounds. Suddenly, he heard a voice coming from his breakfast plate. "Hey there, inventor!" Pip looked down at his toast, wide-eyed. Did that toast just talk?" "Yep." The toast chuckled, a sound like warm butter crackling. "I'm Toasty, and I'm here to help with your invention." Pip was amazed. He'd never met a talking piece of food before. He explained his project, and Toasty's brown surface crinkled with excitement. Together, they worked tirelessly. Pip tinkered with wires, and Toasty translated the chirps of nearby penguins. Finally, the machine whirred to life. Pip carefully placed a feather near the microphone. The machine buzzed and beeped, then spoke in a voice that sounded like a happy penguin. "Thanks for the feather, Pip." Pip and Toasty were ecstatic. Their invention worked. They spent the rest of the day translating animal sounds. Pip learned that grumpy seals complained about the cold water and playful dolphins gossiped about the best waves. By the end, Pip and all the animals were giggling over the day's news. As the sun dipped low, Pip knew it was time for bed. He tucked Toasty, who seemed a little soggy from talking so much, into a cozy feather bed. Pip, with a full belly and a happy heart, drifted off to sleep, dreaming of more talking food adventures with his new best friend.
Jasper the jellyfish loved exploring the deep blue sea. He drifted gracefully with the current, his long, colorful tentacles trailing behind him. One sunny morning, he spotted something unusual, a tiny cloud trapped beneath the surface. The cloud looked fluffy and white, unlike the dark, stormy ones Jasper had seen from afar. It bobbed nervously, sending tiny bubbles rising towards the surface. "Hello," Jasper greeted with a friendly pulse. "Are you lost?" The cloud squeaked, a sound like raindrops tinkling. "I am. I was playing with the wind and got separated from my friends." Jasper felt sorry for the little cloud. "Don't worry," he said reassuringly. "Let's see if we can find them." He gently pushed the cloud upwards, using his soft body. As they ascended, the water grew lighter and the sunlight sparkled more brightly. They passed schools of shimmering fish and playful dolphins who stopped to stare at the unusual pair. Finally, they reached the surface. The little cloud wobbled excitedly. "Look, there they are." High above, a whole bunch of fluffy white clouds were gathered, looking down curiously. They whooshed down in delight, enveloping the little lost cloud in a warm, soft hug. "Thank you," the little cloud squeaked to Jasper, a sprinkle of raindrops falling on his head. Jasper pulsed happily. "You're welcome. Remember, even in the deep sea, friends can be found in the most unexpected places." With a big farewell, the cloud friends rose together, drifting towards the horizon. Jasper waved until they were just tiny specks in the vast blue sky. He continued his exploration, a little brighter for his newfound friendship and the reminder that the ocean wasn't the only place for amazing discoveries.
In the heart of Sunnydale Farm lived a family of pigs: Penelope, the wise matriarch; Patch, the playful piglet; and Wilbur, the bookish one. Every summer, their greatest joy was watching their prize-winning watermelons grow plump and juicy in the sun. But this year, disaster struck. One crisp morning, Penelope waddled out to the melon patch, her trotters heavy with anticipation. The annual county fair was fast approaching, and she envisioned their melons taking home the blue ribbon as usual. However, her heart sank when she reached the patch. All the melons, the pride of Sunnydale Farm, were gone. Patch, who had been chasing butterflies nearby, trotted over, his tail drooping. "Mama, the melons are gone. Someone must have stolen them." Wilbur, nose buried in a dusty book about plant growth, finally looked up, his glasses perched precariously on his snout. "We must investigate," he declared, a newfound determination sparkling in his usually gentle eyes. Penelope, ever the leader, nudged Patch. "You, with your sharp eyes, scout the surrounding fields. Wilbur, use your book smarts to find any clues. I'll question the farm animals." Patch, ears twitching, dashed off. Wilbur, his book tucked under his arm, carefully examined the bare patch. He spotted a single, muddy footprint, larger than any animal on the farm. Meanwhile, Penelope questioned the sheep, who were busy wool gathering and couldn't offer any information. The chickens, clucking about their morning feed, had witnessed nothing. Finally, Penelope reached the grumpy old bull, Ferdinand, who often complained about the melons blocking his favorite sunbathing spot. "Did you steal the melons, Ferdinand?" Penelope asked sternly. Ferdinand snorted, his big nostrils flaring. "Of course not. I wouldn't stoop to such thievery. Besides," he added, lowering his voice, "I wouldn't dare mess with those spiky things next to the melons." "Spiky things?" Penelope echoed, a thought striking her. "You don't mean—" Patch, breathless from his search, trotted back. "Mama, I found something strange." A big trail of muddy footprints leading to the backwoods. Wilbur, who had deciphered the clue in his book, arrived panting. "The footprint. It belongs to a wild boar. The spiky things Ferdinand mentioned, they must be quills." Suddenly, it all clicked for Penelope. The muddy footprints, Ferdinand's dislike for the melons, the spiky things, the wild boar must have been scared off by the farm's porcupines, which lived near the backwoods. Following the trail, Penelope, Patch, and Wilbur found the stolen melons hidden in a thicket, guarded by a few disgruntled porcupines. Penelope explained the situation, and the porcupines, relieved they weren't facing a boar attack, gladly returned the melons. Back at the farm, the family worked together, resetting the melons in time for the fair. They even shared a juicy slice with the grateful porcupines, forming an unlikely friendship. At the fair, the judges were impressed by the story behind the melons, and Sunnydale Farm not only won the blue ribbon but also the hearts of the crowd. Penelope, Patch, and Wilbur learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes, the most unlikely friends can come in handy, and even a bookish pig can save the day.
In the heart of Firefly Valley, nestled amongst tall blades of grass, lived a tiny firefly named Flick. Unlike his siblings, who glowed a bright, vibrant yellow, Flick's light was a faint, flickering orange. He felt small and unseen, his light barely a whisper in the symphony of fireflies that illuminated the valley every night. Flick dreamt of joining the dazzling displays, his light weaving through the darkness like a shooting star. But every time he tried to join the swirling formations, other fireflies, their glow brighter and bolder, would politely nudge him aside. "Your light isn't strong enough yet, Flick," they'd say with a kind pat on his back. One evening, feeling disheartened, Flick flew to the edge of the valley, away from the mesmerizing dance of light. He perched on a tall sunflower, gazing at the vast night sky, sprinkled with twinkling stars. A gentle voice startled him. "Admiring the view, are we?" Flick looked down and saw Luna, the oldest firefly in the valley. Her light, a soft silver, glowed peacefully. I wish I could shine like that," Flick stammered, pointing at a constellation of bright stars. Luna chuckled, her light twinkling. "Little one," she said, "every light has its own purpose. You may not be able to join the dance, but that doesn't make your light any less important." Luna pointed to a group of fireflies struggling to illuminate a patch of dark, overgrown bushes. Their lights seemed to flicker and fade in the thick shadows. "See those fireflies?" she asked. "Their light isn't reaching those areas. But yours, small as it may be, can definitely pierce through that darkness." Suddenly, an idea sparked in Flick's mind. He gathered his courage and flew towards the dark patch. His tiny orange light, flickering but determined, cut through the shadows. The other fireflies, surprised by his bravery, followed him. Together, their combined light, a mix of bright yellows and Flick's gentle orange, pushed back the darkness, creating a safe haven for the nocturnal creatures who lived there. The grateful creatures sang a chorus of thanks, their voices filling the night. That night, Flick learned a valuable lesson. His unique light, though different, held great power. He no longer wished to join the main dance. He had found his own purpose, his own dazzling display, illuminating the darkness in a way no other firefly could. From then on, Flick, the littlest firefly, became known throughout Firefly Valley as the brave guardian of the shadows, his gentle orange light a symbol of courage and the importance of being true to oneself.
In the cozy cottage nestled amidst rolling hills lived a family of mice, Mama Millie, Papa Pete, and their 3 mischievous triplets, Pip, Squeak, and Nibbles. Every night, they looked forward to their bedtime treat, a warm, gooey chocolate chip cookie left by the friendly baker who lived nearby. One crisp autumn evening, Mama Millie, with a basket overflowing with acorns, returned from her foraging trip. As she scurried into the kitchen, she froze. The familiar aroma of chocolate chips was missing. Her whiskers twitched in dismay. Pip, Squeak, Nibbles. Where's the cookie? The triplets exchanged nervous glances. Pip, the eldest, spoke first, his voice squeaking. We don't know, Mama. It wasn't there when we woke up. Mama Millie, though worried, suspected a bit of mischief. All right, little ones, she said, a glint in her eye. Let's investigate. Pip, you check under the floorboards. Squeak, search behind the cupboard. Nibbles, you climb the chimney and see if the baker forgot it on the windowsill. The triplets scurried off, their noses twitching with the thrill of a mystery. Pip peeked under every dusty floorboard, Squeak squeezed behind every cobweb-laden corner, and Nibbles scaled the chimney, soot clinging to his fur. But none of them found the missing cookie. Disgruntled, they reported back to Mama Millie. Just as she was about to question them further, a loud squawk echoed from outside. It was Beatrice the owl, her amber eyes wide. Mama Millie, she hooted. Have you seen a runaway cookie? One with delicious chocolate chips? Mama Millie exchanged a surprised look with the triplets. Beatrice, known for her sharp eyesight, had never stolen anything from them. No, Beatrice, Mama Millie replied. Our cookie is missing too. Did you see anything? Beatrice explained how she'd spotted a brown blur darting across the field, a crumbly object clutched in its teeth. It looked like a field mouse, she added, carrying your cookie. The triplets gasped. Field mice were notorious for petty thefts. Suddenly, they knew where to look. Following Beatrice's directions, they found a burrow nestled at the base of a large oak tree. Pip, ever the brave one, peeked inside. There, nestled on a bed of leaves, was the missing cookie, half eaten by a plump, sleepy field mouse. The triplets confronted the sleepy mouse, explaining the baker's kindness and the importance of sharing. The field mouse, ashamed of his actions, apologized and promised to return the rest of the cookie. Mama Millie, proud of her detective triplets, baked a double batch of cookies that night. One for their family, and another, shared with Beatrice and the remorseful field mouse, proving that even the smallest creatures could learn the value of honesty and good deeds.
In a hidden valley veiled by mist, lived a young squirrel named Pipkin. Pipkin wasn't like the other squirrels, more interested in collecting shiny pebbles than hoarding nuts. He yearned for stories, his bushy tail twitching with excitement whenever he found a discarded scrap of paper with faded words. One breezy afternoon, while gathering fallen leaves for his nest, Pipkin stumbled upon a peculiar sight. Tucked beneath a gnarled oak tree lay an ancient, moss-covered book. The cover, made of bark, bore an inscription in a strange, swirling script. Pipkin, his heart pounding with curiosity, carefully nudged the book open. The pages were thin and yellowed, filled with symbols that danced before his eyes. Frustrated, he closed the book and looked around. Then, he noticed a tiny inscription near the hinge. "Speak to the wind, and the book will speak to you." Pipkin hesitated. Talking to the wind seemed silly, but his desire to understand the book outweighed his doubts. Taking a deep breath, he whispered, "Wind, please tell me what this book says." A gentle breeze rustled through the leaves, and the book's pages fluttered open. To Pipkin's astonishment, the symbols began to glow, transforming into words he could understand. Stories of brave squirrels who sailed on dandelion boats, and wise owls who spoke with the stars. Pipkin spent hours reading, the wind turning the pages as he devoured tale after tale. Each story filled him with wonder and a sense of belonging. He wasn't just a nut-collecting squirrel, he was part of a vast and magical world captured in these pages. Suddenly, Pipkin realized he wasn't alone. A pair of wise eyes peered at him from a nearby branch. It was Elder Hazel, the oldest squirrel in the valley, rumored to hold forgotten knowledge. "So, you found the lost library of whispering leaves," she said, her voice as soft as rustling leaves. Pipkin stammered, explaining how he stumbled upon the book. Elder Hazel smiled. "The library chooses its keeper," she explained. "You, Pipkin, have a curious spirit and a kind heart. You are meant to share these stories." From then on, Pipkin became the keeper of the lost library. He would gather the young squirrels under the oak tree, sharing the stories carried by the wind. As their eyes widened with wonder, Pipkin knew he had found his purpose, to keep the magic of stories alive in the valley, ensuring the whispers of the leaves continued to inspire future generations of squirrels.
In a hidden cove nestled amongst coral reefs lived a tiny hermit crab named Sheldon. Unlike his outgoing friends, who scampered across the seabed collecting shiny trinkets, Sheldon preferred the quiet comfort of his borrowed shell. He peeked out only when absolutely necessary, his soft body a pale pink against the vibrant coral. One day, a ferocious storm raged through the cove. Sandy waves battered the coral, tossing shells and seaweed like playthings. Sheldon, clinging desperately to his shell, was swept away from the familiar reef. When the storm subsided, Sheldon found himself alone on a vast stretch of sandy seabed. Lost and scared, he sank deeper into his shell, wishing he could disappear. But then, a glint of light caught his eye. Emerging cautiously, he saw a magnificent creature unlike anything he'd ever seen, a seahorse. It shimmered with vibrant blue and yellow scales, its body swaying gracefully with the current. "Hello there, little one," the seahorse greeted in a gentle voice. "Are you lost?" Sheldon, surprised, could only nod shyly. The seahorse, introducing herself as Coral, learned about the storm and Sheldon's predicament. "Don't worry," Coral assured him. "I'll help you find your way back." Sheldon, touched by Coral's kindness, hesitated. "But my shell. It's a little boring," he mumbled. He'd always felt his plain shell made him invisible, a stark contrast to the colorful world around him. Coral chuckled, a melodic sound like seashells tinkling. "Little crab," she said, "beauty is not just about colors. It's about what's inside. You have a kind heart and a brave spirit." Emboldened by Coral's words, Sheldon ventured out with her. Along the way, he met a wise old turtle who shared stories of the deep, and playful dolphins who splashed him with joyful shrieks. He learned that the sea was full of wonders, waiting to be discovered. Finally, After a long journey, they reached the familiar coral reef. Sheldon's friends, relieved to see him safe, swarmed around him with cheers. Sheldon, with a newfound confidence, peeked out of his shell and addressed his friends. He shared the amazing stories he'd heard and the kindness he'd encountered on his journey. He even made new friends with some shy fish hiding amongst the coral. From then on, Sheldon wasn't just the shy hermit crab. He was Sheldon, the explorer, his experiences teaching him that true beauty comes from within, and even the shyest shell can hold a heart full of courage and an eagerness to explore the world, one adventure at a time.
High above the clouds lived a tiny raindrop named Raindrop Jr. Unlike his bigger siblings, who eagerly plunged into the world below, Raindrop Jr. felt a pang of fear. He had heard stories of crashing waves and roaring rivers, and the vastness of the world made him tremble. One stormy afternoon, as the cloud grew heavy with water, a powerful gust of wind pushed Raindrop Jr. towards the edge. With a yelp, he tumbled down, plummeting towards the earth. He braced himself for the worst, but instead of a harsh landing, he felt himself cradled by a soft, velvety surface. He opened his eyes to see a beautiful pink rose blooming in a garden. "Hello there, little one," the rose greeted with a soft voice. "Are you lost?" Raindrop Jr., surprised, explained his fear and his dream to see the world, but not in such a scary way. The rose chuckled, her petals shimmering in the sunlight. "The world may seem big," she said, "but even the smallest drop can make a difference. Look around." Raindrop Jr. looked closer. Busy bees buzzed around him, collecting nectar from the rose. A tiny spider spun a delicate web nearby. Even a dewdrop on a blade of grass sparkled like a tiny diamond. "Everything, no matter how small, plays a part," the rose continued. "You, little raindrop, will quench the thirst of a thirsty butterfly, help a flower bloom, or even create a tiny rainbow." Raindrop Jr. felt a sense of purpose he hadn't expected. He wasn't just a tiny drop, but a vital part of a grand cycle. As the sun peeked through the clouds, a colorful rainbow arched across the sky. Suddenly, a gust of wind carried Raindrop Jr. away. He landed with a splash in a birdbath, where a family of sparrows were taking a delightful shower. His tiny drop helped cool them on a warm day. That day, Raindrop Jr. journeyed across the garden, each splash fulfilling a small purpose. He watered thirsty plants, plumped up plump earthworms, and even helped a ladybug clean the mud off her tiny red shell. As the sun dipped low, Raindrop Jr. rested on a leaf, watching fireflies begin their nightly dance. He realized that the world, though vast, was also full of beauty and wonder. He may have been the littlest raindrop, but he had found his place, making a difference one small splash at a time. He knew, with excitement, that many more adventures awaited him in the grand water cycle.
High above the world lived the sun, a radiant ball of warmth and light. Every morning he'd rise with a yawn, stretching his golden rays across the land, waking up the world. Every evening he'd sink below the horizon, leaving behind a trail of fiery colors. Living next door, in a celestial neighborhood, of course, was the wind, a playful, energetic spirit. He loved whirling leaves, creating waves in the ocean, and generally causing a good bit of a stir. But sometimes, the wind's playful gusts got a little out of hand. One morning, as the sun was about to rise, the wind decided to play a prank. He whooshed in, blowing wildly, tugging at the sun's golden rays. "Wait, wind," the sun protested, his voice booming across the sky. "Where are you taking my rays? People need the light to wake up." The wind, giggling with glee, zipped and zoomed, scattering the sunbeams far and wide. Soon, the world below was plunged into morning darkness. Birds chirped in confusion, flowers drooped in disappointment, and children snuggled back into bed, thinking it was still night time. The sun, frustrated and worried, tried to chase the wind, but the mischievous spirit was too fast. Finally, exhausted but determined, the sun had an idea. "Wind," he called out. "You can't stop me from shining forever. And besides, isn't it boring playing in the dark?" The wind paused, his playful spirit flickering. He looked around at the dark world below and realized things weren't as fun without the sun's light. All right, he conceded, a little sheepishly. "But let's make it a game." The sun chuckled, his golden light returning. "All right, wind. Let's see how quickly you can gather my rays and help me paint the morning sky." And so, the unlikely pair began a chase. The sun would rise a couple of inches, painting a small patch of sky, and the wind would race around, collecting the scattered rays and bringing them back. Soon, the sky was ablaze with colors, the morning light waking the world in a burst of golden brilliance. From then on, the sun and the wind had a playful rivalry. The wind still loved to cause a stir, but he never stopped the sun from shining. And the sun, though sometimes exasperated, always appreciated the wind's help in creating the most beautiful sunrises. Their playful chase became a daily routine, a reminder that even the most different personalities could work together to create something truly amazing.
In a vibrant garden blooming with colorful flowers lived a tiny green caterpillar named Pip. Unlike his siblings who munched on leaves contentedly, Pip yearned for something more. He gazed at the sky, mesmerized by the butterflies flitting amongst the flowers, their wings painted with every color imaginable. "Oh," Pip sighed to his brother, munching on a juicy leaf beside him, "wouldn't it be amazing to fly and see the world from up above?" His brother, mid-chew, mumbled, "Don't be silly, Pip. We're caterpillars. We eat leaves and grow big. That's all there is." Undeterred, Pip continued to dream. He devoured leaves faster than any of his siblings, hoping it would hasten his transformation. But despite his efforts, he remained a caterpillar, his green body inching across the leaves. One day, Pip spotted a stunning butterfly with wings the color of a summer sky. Mustering his courage, he asked, "Excuse me, beautiful butterfly, where do you go when you fly?" The butterfly, named Luna, landed gently on a nearby flower. "Oh, little caterpillar," she said kindly, "the world is vast. I fly over meadows bursting with wildflowers, forests filled with chirping birds, and even beaches with sparkling waves." Pip's heart swelled with longing. "But how do you do it?" he asked. "How do you become a butterfly?" Luna chuckled. "Little one, you already are on your way. We all start as caterpillars, munching on leaves and growing strong. But then, we spin a cocoon, a safe haven where something extraordinary happens." Pip's eyes widened. "What happens?" "Inside the cocoon," Luna explained, "we transform. Our bodies change, and when we emerge, we have wings and the ability to fly. It's a magical process." A spark of hope ignited within Pip. He no longer saw chomping on leaves as a chore, but as a necessary step towards his dream of flight. He spun his cocoon with newfound dedication, patiently waiting for the magic to happen. Weeks passed, and Pip felt a strange tingling sensation. The cocoon began to loosen, revealing a pair of damp, crumpled wings. With a trembling effort, he pushed himself out, his body weak but his wings unfolding majestically. Tentatively, he fluttered them, sending him gliding upwards. The wind caressed his new wings, lifting him higher and higher. He looked down at the garden, a familiar place transformed into a tiny patchwork of green and color. From above, he spotted Luna, soaring gracefully beside him. "Welcome to the skies, Pip," she smiled. "The world is waiting to be explored." Pip, wings catching the sunlight, felt a surge of joy. He was no longer just a curious caterpillar. He was Pip the butterfly, ready to embark on adventures beyond his wildest dreams, finally understanding that even the smallest creature could dream of reaching for the sky.
On a windswept cliff overlooking a vast ocean stood a tall, lonely lighthouse. Every night, its powerful beam cut through the darkness, guiding ships safely home. But the lighthouse, called Barnaby, yearned for companionship. He dreamt of chatting with friendly sailors, sharing stories of faraway lands, or simply having someone watch the sunset with him. But alas, the sailors only came when they needed his light, their greetings short and hurried. One starlit night, feeling particularly glum, Barnaby mumbled, "Oh, how I wish I had a friend to talk to." A twinkling light caught his eye. A tiny star, smaller and less bright than his usual companions, had fallen from the sky and landed on a nearby rock. "Hello there," Barnaby boomed, his voice echoing across the waves. "Are you lost?" The little star, named Stella, looked up at the towering lighthouse, a little scared by his booming voice. I think so," she stammered. "I missed my place in the sky and fell down." Barnaby felt a surge of protectiveness. "Don't worry, little one," he said, his voice softer now. "I'll help you get back home." Stella, reassured, explained how she longed to be part of a constellation, a group of stars that formed pictures in the night sky. But she wasn't bright enough, she worried. Barnaby chuckled, his beam flashing playfully. "Little star," he said, "your light is different, not less. Perhaps you just haven't found your constellation yet." He spent the rest of the night telling Stella stories about the ships he'd guided and the wonders of the ocean. In turn, Stella shared stories of the constellations and the vastness of space. They talked until the first rays of dawn painted the sky. As the sun rose, Stella felt a pull, a connection to her fellow stars. With a grateful twinkle, she rose gracefully towards the sky. "Thank you, Barnaby," she called down. "You're not just a lighthouse, you're a friend." Barnaby watched her go, a warm feeling filling his giant bulb. He wasn't lonely anymore. He had a friend, a little star who reminded him that even the smallest light could be important and that true friendship could be found in the most unexpected places. From then on, Barnaby looked forward to starlit nights, not just for guiding ships, but for the chance to chat with his friend Stella, who would often visit, sharing stories from her adventures amongst the constellations.
In the bustling town of Ticktockville, nestled amongst towering clocks and shops overflowing with gears and springs, lived a young clockmaker's apprentice named Finn. Unlike the other apprentices who focused on precision and efficiency, Finn dreamt of creating timepieces that weren't just functional, but magical. His master, Herr Zahnrad, a strict man with a bushy white beard, scoffed at Finn's ideas. Time is a serious matter, young Finn, he'd say. Clocks tell time, not stories. One rainy afternoon, while rummaging through a dusty back room, Finn stumbled upon a curious object, a grandfather clock adorned with intricate carvings and a single, cracked face. As he brushed away the cobwebs, the clock's hands twitched, and a raspy voice spoke. "Goodness, that feels better. I thought I was going to be stuck like that forever." Finn jumped back startled. The clock, or rather, the voice from the clock, chuckled. "Don't worry, young one. I won't bite." Hesitantly, Finn introduced himself and learned the clock's name was Kronos. Kronos, once a prized possession of a renowned wizard, possessed the ability to speak and tell stories from the past, present, and even the future. However, a careless spell had rendered him silent and immobile. Finn, brimming with excitement, promised to help Kronos. He spent weeks repairing the clock, meticulously replacing cracked gears and rusty springs. Finally, with a triumphant tick, Kronos chimed, his voice clear and strong. News of the talking clock spread like wildfire. People flocked to Herr Zahnrad's shop, mesmerized by Kronos' tales. They learned about forgotten heroes, wondrous inventions of the future, and even the shopkeeper's own secret love for carrot cake. Herr Zahnrad, initially skeptical, couldn't deny the joy Kronos brought to the people. He begrudgingly admitted that Finn's magical touch had revitalized his business. With Kronos by his side, Finn continued to create extraordinary clocks. Each timepiece, from a tiny pocket watch to a towering sundial, possessed a unique voice and a story to tell. Tick-Tockville transformed into a magical town, where history and the future intertwined with the present, all thanks to a curious apprentice and a talking clock. Finn, no longer just an apprentice, became known as the storyteller of time, forever reminding everyone that even the most precise mechanics held the potential for wonder, and the magic of time itself could be captured in the tick-tock of a clock.
High above the world, nestled amongst fluffy clouds, lived a vibrant rainbow named Iris. Unlike her fellow rainbows, who arched gracefully across the sky after rainstorms, Iris craved adventure. She yearned to explore beyond the clouds, to paint colors on faraway lands. One sunny afternoon, after a particularly beautiful rain shower, Iris decided she'd had enough. With a wiggle and a twist, she broke free from her anchored ends, her colors streaming across the sky like a runaway ribbon. The other rainbows gasped. "Iris, what are you doing?" they cried. "You'll lose your colors." But Iris was determined. She zipped past grumpy storm clouds, who grumbled warnings about the dangers below. Finally, she reached the edge of the clouds, the vast world stretching before her. Excited, Iris dipped her ends into a sparkling lake, painting a vibrant streak across the water. She swooped over a field of wildflowers, adding a touch of orange and purple to their blooms. Everything seemed perfect. However, as the sun began to set, Iris noticed something strange. Her colors were fading. The blue was turning dull, the red losing its vibrancy. Panic seized her. Without her colors, she was just a wisp of mist. Just then, a booming voice startled her. "Lost, are we?" Iris looked up to see a large, grumpy-looking cloud with a permanent scowl. "Who are you?" she squeaked. "Nimbus," the cloud grumbled. "And this is no place for a lost rainbow." Despite his gruffness, Nimbus couldn't help but feel sorry for the fading Iris. He explained that rainbows needed rain to replenish their colors. Without her anchor points in the clouds, Iris was cut off from her source. Feeling foolish, Iris apologized for her recklessness. Nimbus, touched by her sincerity, offered a solution. He could use his wind currents to gently push Iris back towards the clouds. Hesitantly, Iris agreed. As Nimbus carried her back, she realized she had learned a valuable lesson. Adventure was exciting, but beauty and purpose came from being part of something bigger. Reaching the familiar cloud layer, Iris reattached herself to her anchor points. A gentle rain began to fall, and with each drop, her colors returned, brighter and more vibrant than ever before. From then on, Iris never ran away again. She continued to paint the sky after rainstorms, but now her colors held a deeper meaning. They were a reminder of her adventure, her friendship with the grumpy cloud, and the importance of staying connected to what truly made her beautiful.
Nestled amongst the towering bookshelves of the Grand Library lived a tiny bookworm named Wilbur. Unlike his burrowing brethren, content with munching through dusty novels, Wilbur dreamt of grand adventures. He yearned to explore the stories within the books, not just leave tunnels in their pages. One moonlit night, while munching on a particularly juicy chapter about pirates, Wilbur heard a faint whispering sound. It seemed to come from the very walls of the library. Curiosity gnawed at him stronger than any hunger. Following the whispers, Wilbur found himself near a massive, ancient book bound in worn leather. The whispers emanated from within. Taking a deep breath, Wilbur burrowed through the cracked spine, entering the world of the book. He found himself in a bustling marketplace filled with fantastical creatures, towering gnomes hawking enchanted trinkets, mischievous fairies flitting between stalls, and wise old dragons guarding treasure chests overflowing with glowing gems. Wilbur was awestruck. He soon learned that this was the Whispering World, a hidden realm within the library walls, where the characters of all the stories lived when the books were closed. The whispers, Wilbur discovered, were pleas for help. The Whispering World was losing its magic. The stories were fading, their colors dull, and the characters' voices weak. A kind old storyteller named Elara explained that the lack of readers for the ancient book was draining its magic. People were too busy reading newer, flashier stories and neglecting the classics. Determined to help, Wilbur, though small, had a big idea. He scurried through the book, leaving tiny nibbled messages on the pages of the library patron's favorite books. The messages, cryptic at first, hinted at the wonders hidden within the ancient book. Intrigued, the readers started exploring the forgotten book. As they delved into its stories, the Whispering World sprang back to life. Colors became vibrant, characters regained their voices, and the marketplace buzzed with renewed energy. Wilbur, back in his cozy tunnel, felt a surge of pride. He had proven that even the smallest creature could make a difference. He continued to leave his cryptic messages, ensuring the Whispering World remained a vibrant haven for the characters, all thanks to a brave little bookworm who dared to venture beyond the page. From then on, Wilbur wasn't just a bookworm. He was a guardian of the Whispering World, a reminder that even the oldest stories held magic, waiting to be rediscovered by curious readers and tiny bookworms with big dreams.
In the heart of a shimmering forest, where fireflies danced like living constellations, lived Flicker. Unlike his friends who twinkled with precision, illuminating pathways and guiding lost creatures, Flicker was forgetful. He'd light up with the best intentions, but mid-flight, he'd forget why he was glowing and his light would sputter out, leaving him in embarrassing darkness. One starlit evening, Flicker set out to guide a lost baby owl back to its nest. But as he flitted through the trees, he became distracted by a particularly juicy-looking spider web. By the time he reached the web, his light had dwindled to a faint flicker, and the baby owl was nowhere to be seen. Dejected, Flicker landed on a large, glowing mushroom. An old firefly, her light a gentle, constant glow, emerged from beneath the mushroom's cap. Flicker, ashamed, explained his forgetfulness. The firefly, Luna, chuckled softly. "Little one," she said, "we all have our challenges. But even a forgetful Flicker can be a source of light." Luna explained the glowing grove was a special place. The mushrooms, ancient and wise, absorbed moonlight and emitted a soft, constant glow. But sometimes, the glow dimmed, and the forest creatures grew uneasy in the darkness. "That's where you come in," Luna said with a twinkle. "Your forgetfulness might be frustrating, but it also means you're curious and easily distracted. You see things others don't." From then on, Flicker became the spark of discovery. He would flit through the forest, his forgetfulness leading him on unexpected adventures. He'd discover hidden clearings, find lost treasures under fallen logs, and even alert the fireflies to areas where the mushrooms needed a little extra moonlight. His forgetfulness became his strength. He learned to rely on his friends to relight him when his spark faded, and in turn, he shared his discoveries, keeping the forest vibrant and exciting. The glowing grove became a symbol of acceptance, where even the forgetful could contribute to the greater light, reminding everyone that even the smallest spark could ignite a world of wonder.
In the heart of a monster metropolis, where buildings scraped the clouds and traffic roared like hungry beasts, lived Barnaby. Unlike his ferocious neighbors who reveled in mischief and mayhem, Barnaby was, well, different. He preferred painting sunsets over scaring children, and writing poetry over stomping through streets. One gloomy afternoon, tired of the city's constant chaos, Barnaby packed a knapsack with his paints and poems and stomped out, not knowing where he was going. He wandered for days, until he stumbled upon a strange sight, a tiny, lonely island in the middle of a vast, shimmering ocean. The island was barren, with only a single, crooked palm tree offering a sliver of shade. Yet, a strange sense of peace washed over Barnaby. He unpacked his paints and began to paint the vibrant colors of the sunset on the pale sand. Suddenly, a booming voice echoed across the water. "Halt, trespasser! Who dares disturb the solitude of Lonely Island?" Barnaby froze, his paintbrush hovering in midair. From behind the palm tree emerged a creature unlike any he'd seen, a towering giant with glowing eyes and skin the color of the sea. Barnaby, trembling, explained his desire for peace and his love of art. To his surprise, the giant, who introduced himself as Kai, chuckled. "Art?" Kai rumbled. "On this desolate island? Why bother?" Barnaby, emboldened, shared his poem about the beauty even a lonely island held. He spoke of the whispering waves, the dancing crabs, and the endless sky, all waiting to be appreciated. Kai, touched by Barnaby's words, revealed his loneliness. He was the guardian of the island, tasked with keeping it safe but forever isolated. Seeing a kindred spirit, Barnaby spent the next few days painting murals on the rocks, depicting the stories of the ocean and the creatures that lived beneath the waves. Kai, captivated by the vibrant colors and stories, shared tales of the deep, his loneliness easing with each brushstroke. Soon, the once barren island became a canvas of color and story. Sea turtles gathered to admire the painted coral reefs, and playful dolphins danced around the vibrant murals. Lonely Island was no longer lonely, but a haven of beauty and shared stories, all thanks to a misfit monster and a giant who found solace in the power of art. Barnaby never returned to the city, choosing to stay on Lonely Island with his new friend Kai. He continued to paint, his stories now filled with the wonders of the ocean and the joy of finding friendship in the most unexpected places.
In a quaint tea shop nestled amongst cobblestone streets lived a cheerful little teacup named Clementine. Unlike his fellow cups reserved for fancy china sets, Clementine was chipped and worn, his handle slightly crooked from years of service. But what he lacked in appearance, he made up for in enthusiasm. One day, an eccentric customer ordered a pot of chamomile tea. As Clementine was being carried to the table, he tumbled from the tray, landing with a clatter on the floor. He cracked open further, revealing a tiny, grumpy genie trapped inside. Finally, the genie grumbled, rubbing a sore shoulder. "Free at last." Clementine, surprised but optimistic, tilted his chipped rim. "Hello there. Welcome to the tea shop. Would you like some tea?" The genie, whose name was Grog, scoffed. "Tea? For a powerful genie like me? I wish for grand palaces, mountains of gold, and the respect I deserve." Clementine, unfazed, poured a warm cup of chamomile tea. "Well, wishes can be tiring, wouldn't they? Perhaps a calming cup of tea before you make any grand decisions?" Grog, hesitant at first, sipped the tea cautiously. His frown softened as the warm chamomile soothed his temper. He hadn't had a decent cup of tea in centuries. Clementine, ever the conversationalist, chatted about the tea shop, the cheerful customers, and the calming aroma of brewing tea leaves. Grog, initially grumpy, found himself captivated by the simple pleasures. He mused after finishing his tea. Perhaps mountains of gold aren't all they're cracked up to be. Maybe a peaceful cup of tea and a friendly chat are just as valuable. From then on, Clementine became Grog's unlikely companion. Grog, no longer obsessed with grand wishes, used his magic to sprinkle a bit of enchantment on the tea shop, making the pastries extra delicious and the tea leaves always perfectly fragrant. Clementine, though chipped and worn, became a beacon of joy and friendship. He proved that even the most ordinary object could hold a powerful genie, and that sometimes, the greatest treasures weren't gold, but the simple pleasures shared with a friend over a warm cup of tea.
Deep within a forgotten forest, nestled amongst ancient trees and whispering leaves, lay a tiny seed unlike any other. It wasn't brown and dull like its siblings, but glowed with an ethereal light, pulsing with a hidden energy. The other seeds mocked it. "Look at the glowing one," they'd snicker. "What good is a light without roots?" But the glowing seed yearned for something more. It didn't want to be buried underground, confined to darkness. It dreamt of using its light to explore the world. One blustery autumn day, a playful gust of wind swept through the forest. The wind, named Zephyr, heard the whispers of the seeds and decided to play a game. He swooped down, scattering the seeds in all directions. The glowing seed, caught in the whirlwind, tumbled through the air, separated from its brethren. Fear gripped it, but then, a calm voice filled its tiny core. "Don't worry, "Little one," Zephyr chuckled, his voice a gentle breeze. "I'll carry you somewhere special." Zephyr carried the glowing seed high above the forest, revealing a breathtaking vista. Below, a shimmering lake reflected the light of the setting sun, sparkling like a million scattered diamonds. The glowing seed, mesmerized, felt a warmth spread through its core. It wasn't the darkness it had feared, but a world of beauty and wonder. Zephyr, seeing the seed's awe, explained that it wasn't meant for the forest floor. "Your light," he said, "is meant to illuminate the darkness in other places." He then carried the seed to the edge of a bustling town. The streets were choked with smoke, and the buildings cast long shadows. The people, faces etched with worry, seemed lost in their own worlds. The glowing seed, with a surge of purpose, began to emit a brighter light. It drifted over the town square, its warm glow casting away the shadows. People looked up, startled, then a smile bloomed on a weary face. Another person shared a laugh with a stranger. The glowing seed, with Zephyr's playful nudges, continued its journey. It illuminated dark alleys, comforting lost children and guiding them home. It shone on lonely windows, reminding people of the beauty that still existed in the world. The seed never sprouted roots, but it found its purpose. It became a beacon of hope, a reminder that even the smallest light could brighten the darkest corners, all thanks to a playful wind and a seed that dared to dream beyond its expected destiny.
High above the twinkling Milky Way lived a young star named Stella. Unlike her confident siblings who shone brightly, illuminating the night sky, Stella was a nervous flicker. She worried about everything: meteor showers, supernova explosions, and even the possibility of someone forgetting to make a wish upon her light. One night, Stella fretted over an approaching full moon that might outshine her. A streak of fire blazed across the sky. It was a comet, a celestial visitor with a long, fiery tail. Stella, mesmerized, gathered her courage and called out, "Excuse me, Mr. Comet, where are you headed?" The comet, named Cosmo, slowed his fiery descent. Just zipping through the cosmos, he boomed, his voice echoing through space. "Spreading a little excitement wherever I go." Stella, captivated by his adventurous spirit, confessed her anxieties. Cosmo chuckled, a sound like rumbling thunder. "Little star," he said, "the universe is vast and amazing. Don't let fear dim your light. It's your nervousness that makes you unique. It gives your twinkle a special spark." Cosmo explained how his fiery tail, a result of collected cosmic dust, lit up even the darkest corners of space. He showed Stella how his journey brought wonder and curiosity to distant planets. Inspired, Stella decided to face her fears. She practiced shining brighter, even during the full moon. She used her nervous energy to shimmer with different colors, creating a mesmerizing display. Soon, other stars noticed Stella. They marveled at her ever-changing glow and the stories it seemed to tell. People on Earth, gazing at the night sky, started leaving messages and drawings for the dancing star. Stella, no longer a nervous flicker, became a beacon of hope and a reminder that even the smallest light could be extraordinary. She discovered that courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the willingness to shine brightly despite it, all thanks to a fiery comet who showed her that even the most fleeting visitor could leave a lasting impact.